Program funding for the Organic Odyssey was provided by the California Certified Organic Farmers Foundation, as well as the Transition to Organic Partnership Program. Visit their web pages or social media for all their amazing content and guidance on everything organic. Support for the Organic Odyssey is provided in part by the Grimm Family Center for Organic Production and Research at Cal Poly. For more information or to support the center, please visit organic.calpoly.edu. That's organic.calpoly.edu for the Grimm Family Center for Organic Production and Research at Cal Poly. Support for the Organic Odyssey is provided in part by AgCom Central. Visit AgCom Central on twitch.tv or youtube.com for all content ag-related. That's AgCom Central on twitch.tv or youtube.com for AgCom Central.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Organic Odyssey podcast. I'm your host, Madison Jasso.
And I'm a co-host, Abel.
And this is our guest.
I'm Dr. Moses Mike, AgCom's professor, and I'm really happy to be here. It's the third season of this podcast, and I've been on every season, so I'm happy to share whatever expertise I have with my, wonderful students here.
Yes, today we have a fun topic. We are going to talk about the myths of organics. So, for the first myth that...
Why'd you stop talking?
You looked at me, you were like...
No. I think as communicators, we just have to anticipate what's going to be asked of us, and I was just looking at you like, well, I wonder what the first myth is,
okay.
Because even though, the information was shared with everyone, I'm just fresh out of the class here. So I'm waiting to see what the first myth is. So please don't worry about it.
Okay. So for the first myth, we have organic means no pesticides. When I think organic, that's what I think. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, for most of my life, that's what I thought it meant was absolutely none at all. So honestly, recently, talking about it in this class, that it doesn't mean that there's absolutely none. It was kind of a shock to me. But how did you feel about that?
Yeah, for someone that's learning about what organic means, it's really that knowledge base to know how certification works and how the industry works, right? So for almost any industry like organics, for something to be certified as something, usually there's a measure of whatever the opposite side is. So in this case, in the organic industry, for something to be labeled organic, it has to meet a threshold or a minimum requirement to be that label. So any organization that's certifying any fruit, vegetable, produce as organic, like CCOF, I think there's a state one somewhere for organic certification. It has to meet a minimum requirement for, or a minimum threshold for, maybe I shouldn't say a minimum, a maximum threshold for it to be considered organic. When I found that out, it blew my mind a little bit because, like you, Maddie, I thought organic meant straight up nothing. Don't do nothing. Just grow it out of the soil. Whatever happens to it, let the sun hit it, let the ants eat it, whatever. That's what was considered organic. But it makes much more sense now because the pesticides, the weeds, the soil, all these things have to be managed. Oh boy, I started a little bit. All of these things have to be managed still. And for that to happen, there has to be some influence from synthetic fertilizers. And, it doesn't always have to be synthetic. It could be a modified version of an input, right? Whether it's a pesticide, herbicide, weedicide, anything like that, right? So I think when Matt Grisham gets here next week for the next episodes, he would be able to clearly define what organic thresholds exist. But I know now from being on this podcast for 3 seasons that, that myth is pretty well busted, right?
Yeah.
There are several mechanisms or metrics that we can use to include something into an organic without it being 100% no synthetic fertilizer.
Yeah, obviously well, it's not obvious, but you clearly know a lot.
Obviously.
Obviously, you know more about it than I do. But a fun little statistic Ava and I found was that the USDA has reported that 99% of organic fruits and vegetables have less artificial chemicals than what's considered safe. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Could you say that again? Say that one more time for the people in the back.
The USDA has reported that 99% of organic fruits and vegetables have less artificial chemicals than what's considered safe.
Okay. What does that mean to you?
I think it means that like we expect, like once I found out personally that like there was still synthetic fertilizers in my stuff, I thought that it was not safe at all. So like seeing this statistic kind of like makes me feel a little bit more comfortable, like knowing that, oh, like I thought there was this much and there's actually 99% like less. So I'm like, I'm a lot more comfortable now, like when I'm eating this stuff with pesticides. And if I'm being honest, I don't even know why we can't eat pesticides or like why it's like people don't like it. So like I was always confused on why like eating organic even like matters that much. But I guess with this statistic, since people have told me it's
At least
bad,
you're being honest.
I guess like I'm happy now that I know it's safer than I thought it was to begin with.
Yeah, for sure. But now that that myth has been busted, we have another myth. And that is that organic food is more nutritious.
Oh.
Which I fully believed before this.
Until when?
Until like
Today.
It's
because it's the media. It like tells you like, oh, like you have to eat organic.
Yeah,
like,
and for me, it's like when I'm like looking at like people who are like into fitness and stuff, or like people who are healthier in my life, like they're always like, oh, I have organic this. I'm like, okay, obviously it's healthier.
yeah,
But-
like it has to be. But now we know it's not. And
So the question is organic food more nutritious, right? Like that's the statement. Okay. Any expert will say that that's research that's still ongoing. The idea that an item of food is automatically considered more nutritious because it's organic is like Ava said, is media speculation. Now, can you say that an organic commodity is safer to eat because of the reduction in synthetic fertilizer? I think that's something that we can speculate, because the use of less synthetic fertilizer means that less of it goes into your body and your body has to process less. And synthetic fertilizers and chemicals have been tied to numerous health.
cancer.
We can't say specific things because we don't have that certification, but we can say it has been tied, based on the research, to abnormalities in human existence.
Yeah.
So I think it's to err on the side of caution as professionals and communicators in the field, because I'm speaking from my expertise, right? Mm-hmm. As a communications professional, we can say that organic produce should be safer to eat, and it may not necessarily be more nutritious, right? Because let's put it in terms of comparable commodities, right? Let's say you ate, what's something that you eat the skin of? Apples, right? Let's say you're spraying apples with synthetic fertilizer to get rid of whatever pests are in the field, and you have an organic apples with some insect bites in there, but you didn't spray it. I think internally in that apple, you will still get the same vitamins and minerals that you would get from the synthetic apple. But on the outside of that apple, there are some chemicals that you will be consuming as well. So that's why I say, if you think about it practically, rationally, in plain terms, we can definitely say that organic commodities are safer to eat than ones that are sprayed with, or ones that are grown with synthetic fertilizer or things like that.
Yeah, thinking about it that way, I totally agree. But then when I think about it in the sense of like for example, like organic potato chips, like
Right.
obviously like they slapped the name organic, but like they're still potato chips in the end.
The nutrition's out the window at that point.
Yeah, so I think like they're still high in calories, high in unhealthy fats and stuff. So I think that's where we saw the myth being shut down. But if you look at it in the way you did,
Mm-hmm.
then it's kind of like Is this
I
myth
mean-
really busted?
I mean, thinking about it from that perspective as well, like the caloric density doesn't necessarily change. Like if you look at it in terms of proportional rations, right? Proportional sizes. So if you had a bag of organic potato chips and a bag of regular potato chips, and it's the same like weight per se, like let's say it's a quarter of a pound of potato chips because potato chips are light. Either one's going to go through the same process. They're either fried or baked or air fried or whatever, and they have salt in them. And so it's usually like 30% of your dietary needs of salt. And they have some flavorings, and the oil they use might be like different, but it's like you mentioned, it's the same caloric density. And does that make it more nutritious?
Probably not.
Probably
I feel
not.
like the almond moms are like trying to convince us.
Is that a
like,
real term?
Oh
Almond
yeah,
moms?
Yeah.
almond moms. Like yeah, I think my mom is an almond mom.
Oh,
Sometimes.
boy.
Yeah.
Do you eat a lot of organics at home?
We do, and like, I don't even think that it's doing anything
They-
like differently. Like if she, those like Justin's like peanut butter cups that are like it's candy. It's not healthy. Just because
Yeah.
it has that organic label on it does not mean like suddenly like it's like negative
Yeah.
calories and like that's just not going to happen. And I feel like that's what most people are going with this idea that like organic foods are more healthy when
Yeah.
it's in the end it's still candy, it's still chocolate.
Yeah.
So,
I wouldn't necessarily say that we busted this myth, but I feel like it's pretty neutral
yeah.
in a sense.
Yeah, I think it depends.
Yeah.
I would again go back to the idea that safer to eat does not mean more nutritious.
Yeah.
There are certain definitions that we can use to parameterize what we're talking about in terms of consumption on the consumption side of things.
After clearing up
Are you surprised to see yourself over there? Like,
After clearing up this misconception, let's go into the third one, our final misconception. It is farmers make more earnings through organic production. Honestly, I never really fully sat back and thought about that, but if I did, I would think, oh yeah, they probably do because they're not using pesticides, which means they're not spending money on them. But
Yeah,
That's
when,
false.
When I thought about this today, when I was going through the outline, it's not because that it costs more to grow these things. It's because they have to pay all their employees. Because when you're producing things organically, there's extra steps you have to take, like mulching, and there was something else, hand weeding. So you have to have people you're paying to do these things that when you're producing things non-organically, you don't have to do, because you don't have to go through these certifications and requirements that you have to do when you're producing things organically.
yeah, so that is why organics are pretty expensive, which is why I don't think a lot of people buy organics is because of the price. I don't know about you guys, but
Definitely not.
what do you think about that?
yeah, there are several schools of thought on this, and there is definitely dimensionality to how we can speak to farmers' earnings, right? So let's break it down in terms of all the separate components. What does it take to become organically certified? Well, my understanding is, and I'm open to correction, but it's something like 3 years of not using anything synthetic in a particular area. It has to have a buffer zone. It has to meet certain criteria in order for that piece of property to be, or that farm rather, to be labeled as open for organic production. So that's one thing. What do you think that land is doing in the meantime, right? What do you think that land is producing in the meantime? So if you're switching from synthetic growth to organic growth, that means you have to do a lot of land preparation. You have to increase your capacity to fight pests and diseases naturally, and a couple other things. Usually when a farm is transitioning to an organic farm, the land stays fallow. It stays empty for that period so that nothing grows on there, or usually nothing can grow on there, or even if it does grow, it doesn't grow effectively or marketably. So whatever commodities come out on the back end of a land that is transitioning to organic may not grow to market capacity. And so farmers are losing out money there. So for 3 years, you're growing less than you usually would with a a conventional piece of land, right? You're then spending money to prepare that land. I don't want to call a figure, but let's assume that it costs $20,000 a year to like keep the land open to prepare it for organic production. That's money being spent there on the front end, right? So no production or little production on the land on the front end, and then spending money to prepare the land on the front end as well. So that's the second thing. And then you have to go through the steps of certification. So leaving the land barren is fine. Preparing the land for organic production is fine, but then you have to do the extra steps to get the certification body to come out there. I'm not sure what it costs, and I'm not sure what the procedure is, but there is some financial metric in having your farm certified by one of the leading agencies in the U.S. Or in California. So that's a lot of front-end costs that you're investing into that piece of land for it to grow. And then on the back end of that, let's say the 3 years, and again, I'm assuming the time period here, but I think it's 3 years. So the 3 years have expired. Your land is certified organic. You're ready to produce. By nature, conventional agricultural production is more productive because you can use synthetic fertilizers and or the other synthetic inputs. Organic production, because of its reduction in that there is a lower output per unit of land that you would get on an organic field. What that means is the farmer has to make a decision. Does that cost trickle down to the consumer, or does he absorb that cost as well? So a lot of people think that organic commodities are more expensive on purpose, but really the farmer has to recoup their costs. Now, I'm not saying that's justified. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying, because remember, it comes back down to the consumer's willingness to pay, right?
Yeah.
If a consumer is willing to pay $5 a pound for potato rather than like the $2 a pound or $1 a pound for potato, like that's on them. They have the capacity to do that, and they know why they want to do that. But on the other hand, farmers have to recoup the cost, and usually the cost of the inputs to create an output is shelved to the consumer. And unfortunate as that might be, people are investing more and more in their health, and as a result, consumers are willing to pay for organic commodities. So for you as like college students, what is your willingness to pay for organic stuff?
Well, today I was in Regier's and I saw that I think it was blueberries, was $8 for like organic blueberries. And I was like, there's no way I'm paying that. And then I thought to myself, wait, I have my Cal Poly ID. So it's paid for.
Right.
So I was like, well, I might as well get some. So like things at school that I can pay with my Cal Poly ID, I would invest for the organic products. But like when I go shopping on my own dime, there's no way I'm paying $8 for
I completely agree. Like my dining dollars, I'll get it.
The monopoly money.
Yeah. But if I'm going to the store on my own, I'm probably not going to reach for the organic.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask
items.
this question, and I'm not trying to persuade you one way or the next. If the prices were comparable, let's say the blueberries were $5 a pound and the conventionally grown blueberries were $5 a pound, which one would you choose and why?
Ooh. Honestly, I don't know if this is just my like media TikTok brain telling me to get organic. I would probably get organic just because like that's like what people have said to me is the better option. So I think that's what I would do. But honestly, I have no opinion for myself because I haven't done enough research about it, but that's what I would choose personally.
After like doing this podcast, I think I've came to the conclusion that organics are not necessarily like better for you. Like they're not giving you more nutrients. I think it's just better in the sense where it's not giving you like as many bad chemicals.
Okay.
So it's like, it's not like a plus, but it's kind of just like there. So like I typically would probably go for the organic then.
Yeah. And in terms of busting myths, right? Like busting myths is a communication a branch of communication that as young communicators, you should be interested in or you should be knowledgeable about. And I remember telling you in the class, like, you're not supposed to be experts when you leave here, but you should be at least able to talk about some of the concepts that you learned. And, you know, busting myth is really one of them. So if you walk into a group of or if you're chatting with a group of your friends and they say something like, organic means no pesticides, you are now equipped with the knowledge to know or say with a certain amount of confidence, like, nah, that's not true. I learned that in class today, or we read that, or there, we have a statistic for that. That means that. And so you're right. A lot of what we talked about today, Ava and Maddie as well talked about the communication behind it. Like, a lot of it is a lot of the things are misconceptions. And so it's up to us as communicators to correct those misconceptions based on the knowledge that we have, which, you know, affords us the opportunity to do some research as well, right? We don't want to just walk in and have TikTok brain and accept what we hear on TikTok. And that's no slight to you, because I have done things like I bought merch from people knowing that it may not work for me, but like TikTok brain, right? Like,
Happens to all of us. It does.
But it comes back to the idea that we as young communicators, well, not me, I'm an old communicator, but you as young communicators recognize the ability of media to influence people and use it for correcting information or selling merch if you want. I don't know if you want to do that, but.
Looking up things about this one, I had always thought that they just wanted more money, and that's why that it costed more. But then I actually did some research for myself, and I saw that it's because they have to pay their employees more, and there's also just a lot of steps they have to take to get that certification and things like that. They have to do mulching, hand weeding, and just pay employees that farmers who produce non-organically don't have to pay. So that was what I found about that.
How I saw it was that they were low-key like taking advantage of us, because like, that's because organics are just more expensive. When you go to the store, they're more expensive. So I thought, because it says organic and people want to be healthy, that the farm, or not necessarily the farmers, more like the big corporations that they send their products to, were trying to get like more money, because obviously if people want to be healthy, they're going to want to pay more, especially the people who are capable of doing that. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, you know, again, this is influence from Matt Grisham, and as communicators, I'll come back to this all the time. Myth busting is really about how we share the communication that's in the industry and how we use media to influence others. So you're always being influenced by media. So let's think about the steps in becoming organically certified. Let's assume that you're a farmer that's been growing conventional produce, right? My understanding is, and you can correct me or quote me on this in the future, it takes about 3 years to transition your land from from conventional production to organic production, right? So that's 3 years. During that 3 years, there are a couple things that are happening, right? You're not producing on that land. So even if you are producing, whatever you're producing is like not necessarily market ready. Okay, so let's assume that you're not producing or producing something like at 5%, which may not be sustainable for generating a solid income. Okay, so in the time that you're taking to transition as well, you're preparing the land. You're probably doing a little bit of weeding, mulching, tilling if that's something that you're able to practice, or non-tilling as people do in organic production. And then, of course, when you get to the back end of that 3 years of land preparation to go into organics, you do have to get certified, and certification takes a lot of money. So the money investment to become organically certified is from the certification side. You do have to do some land prep, which costs money. Let's assume, I'm calling a figure out of the air here, like $20,000 a year to get people to prepare your land, or yourself rather to prepare your land, and then you're not producing, which is a net negative income for the farmer. So overall, it's expensive on the front end to transition to organic. Then by nature, right? Like, let's say you go through everything, you're now organically certified. Let's assume then that you're producing at whatever capacity that you're producing. By nature, conventional production aims at yield, right? So you're aiming with conventional production to maximize the amount that that you produce. In organic production, the yields are a little bit different. They're definitely going to be a little bit lower, even though you are able to use some synthetic or some kind of fertilizer, pesticides, herbicides, weedicides, and some sort of you're able to use some of those. Even though you're able to do that, you're not going to, per acre comparison, you're not going to be able to produce the same amount that you would do conventionally. Now, whether you like it or not, consumers have a willingness to pay for organic produce because, as we mentioned before, people perceive it as safer. So if it's safer and you're willing to pay for it and you have the capacity to pay for it, like, people can do that. Like, they're willing to do that. Unfortunately, that trickle down of the cost to produce this organic thing will go to the consumer. That creates an issue about access. Not everyone is able to access organic produce, and that's a shame. But that's where it's at. So, like, I would ask students all the time, like, if you were to go to the grocery store and see something labeled as organic, would you purchase it generally?
Yes, I would, because I'm easily influenced. So I would definitely purchase it, unless it was way out of, like, if I did not have enough money or if I didn't have my Cal Poly ID on hand, then I definitely wouldn't purchase it. But if it was something like at the UU or in VG's, then yes, I would, but not on my own dollar.
Because you have the monopoly money.
Yeah,
Dining dollars
definitely
aren't really that real.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I'm at the store, sometimes I'm like, no, I'll just do it. But then sometimes I'm like,
Yeah, if I'm
why?
feeling extra healthy, then
yeah, if I'm
definitely.
feeling extra healthy, I'm like, no, I'll get organic today.
Yeah.
But most of the time, probably not. Do you get organic?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm fickle. Like, I am leaning towards being healthier, but healthier does not necessarily mean that it's organic or
Yeah.
conventional. I try my best to do things that are healthier for me. What I would like to do is to be able to grow my own food, and that
Yeah.
way I could, organic that it's organic.
you really know it's organic.
You know what's being grown there. I've been on a homesteading, like, binge watching videos on homesteading for a while, but, like, I love that lifestyle, and I think it affords the opportunity for anyone that's in that lifestyle to grow their own food, and that gives you greater control. But generally speaking, I go for the ingredients and not necessarily the certification. I would like to if I can afford it, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we learned a lot today. I definitely did. I don't know about you.
Yes, definitely.
I hope you guys also learned a lot today and had fun while learning. Just to recap some of the points or some of the myths we've busted. For the first one, organics are not fully pesticide free. They just use non-synthetic most of the time, correct?
Yeah.
Am I saying that right?
So the idea is that there is a threshold to be made when you're producing organics. It's not synthetic free. Yes.
Yes. Second one is that organic food is not more nutritious than non-organic food. We busted that
to
one.
be determined.
Less chemicals, maybe.
Yeah.
Safer,
Maybe,
not.
yeah.
Safer, maybe. Nutritious, still to be determined.
Yeah.
Yes. And for the last one is the one we just spoke about, that farmers do not make more money when creating organic foods.
Yeah, I think the amount that they have to invest into the end product might be more expensive, but it's also a more expensive product to
investment.
make.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah.
Evens out.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Thank you, Dr. Mike, for
Thank
coming
you for
on.
having me.
Thank you, Ava, for being a great co-host. I hope you guys tune in next week.
Bye.
To the Organic Odyssey.
Goodbye.
Program funding for the Organic Odyssey was provided by the California Certified Organic Farmers Foundation, as well as the Transition to Organic Partnership Program. The show was created by Matt Grisham, the talent coordinator and resident organic expert, as well as Moses Mike, the faculty production lead. The Organic Odyssey is a production of the AGC 225 class called Digital Communications and Agriculture. The student team that produced the show included Natalie Eubanks and Savannah Taylor, the directors, hosts Madison Jasso and Ava Rose. Storyboard editing by Avery Mulerath and the technical team: Isabella Anderson, Vincent Biller, Vivian Kempora, Kendall Cook, Callie Granis, Carolyn Janes, Zach Collar, Emmy Lynn Marrow, Jack Oliver Roa, Sarah Purcell, Mason Riley, and Holly Rudnick. The guest for this episode was Moses Mike. The Organic Odyssey is a digital media collaboration between the Agricultural Education and Communications Department and the Grimm Family Center for Organic Production and Research at Cal Poly. These credits were read by Chelsea Ann. Thanks for listening.